Let's catch up on what I've been making for summer. And make sure you watch to the end because I'm going to share with you one of the dumbest mistakes I've ever made. Hi, my name is Sarah and welcome to my channel, which is all about sewing and styling a handmade wardrobe. Let's just get straight to the makes. So the first piece that I have to share with you today is the Style Arc Hope Woven Dress. Now I bought this pattern pretty recently and it's very popular on Instagram. There's lots and lots of different versions, and I think Becky from What Beck Sews very recently made several different versions from the extension pack. And the reason that I purchased this pattern is because I've been looking for a woven dress that is basically the equivalent of my favorite knit dress. Something that's just really loose and comfortable that you can just pull right on and then forget about it the rest of the day. I wanted something with pockets. And I was specifically looking for a woven dress pattern because I don't tend to stash enough quantities of knits. When I buy knits, I usually buy a yard or maybe a yard and a half because I'm usually thinking in my head that I'm going to wear a t-shirt. And I know that I could go buy some more knits to make more knit dresses, but I'm really trying not to buy too much fabric right now. And I do tend to stock larger quantities of wovens in my stash. I have several 3-yard or 3-meter cuts. So I wanted to look for a woven dress that would be just as comfortable as my knit dresses. So the Hope woven dress is a loose fitting dress. It has a gathered waistline, but it's not super closely fitted to the body. And with the extension pack, you can do several different bodice variations and sleeve variations. So I thought it would be really versatile. So for my first version here, I chose the wrap front bodice. Actually, this is a faux wrap. And then I chose the original pattern sleeve. And then I did not shorten the skirt. So the skirt is intended to be a midi length, but because I'm only 4'9", it's actually ankle length on me, which was perfect. I did shorten these sleeves 4 inches because the original intention is for the sleeves to be about bracelet length. And I wanted mine to be more summer appropriate, and so I made it more of like an elbow length sleeve. Now this dress was super easy and quick to construct. I know that Style Arc patterns are notorious for having terrible instructions, but to be honest with you, I didn't even need to look at the instructions at all. I basically just put it together. I think the only thing that I looked at the instructions for was just to check to see which way that the bodice is supposed to wrap over, like which piece was supposed to be on top. Other than that, I didn't need the instructions. The other change that I made was I added a slit to the left-hand side because originally I just sewed up the whole thing, but when I tried it on, I found that if I walk quickly, that it was a little bit difficult to walk. Because the dress is meant to be a midi, I think that that wouldn't really be a factor. But because mine is an ankle length, I decided to just go ahead and add that slit to make it a little bit easier to move. And I also just think that it looks a little bit better when I have a little bit of leg showing. Now for this particular variation, I did size down to the size 4. My chest measurement would have put me in the size 6. And there is one thing about the pattern that's a little bit confusing to me, and that is that the finished garment measurements for the original Hope bodice versus the extension pack Hope bodice are different, with the extension pack being a little bit bigger. So because I was using the extension pack, I did size down to the 4, and I think that it fits perfectly. I really like the fit on this bodice, but when and if I do make the original bodice, I think I'm gonna have to size up to, or not really size up, but just make my normal size 6, which would mean that I have to reprint and tape the pattern together again, which annoys me a little bit. So I'm not sure why there's a discrepancy there, but it's not that big of a deal. And I definitely will make more of these in the future because I absolutely love this dress. This fabric is a cotton poplin that I got from Rainbow Fabrics, I think last year, and I had purchased 3 meters of it. It was pretty inexpensive and I just couldn't ever decide what I wanted to do with it. And I absolutely love the way that it looks in this dress. This poplin is nice and light. It's not super stiff. And it's just so comfortable and easy to wear. I've actually already worn this dress twice. I wore it out to brunch with my husband and then we took the dogs for a really long walk. And then I also wore it the other day to work. And one of my coworkers stopped me and said, "Oh my gosh, that dress just looks so comfortable." And I was like, "Thank you, it really is." So I really do love this dress, and I love that it comes with so many different variations because I do want to try basically all of the variations at some point. And I'm really happy to have a woven dress pattern in my stash that I can rely on that is as comfortable as my knit dresses. So the second thing that I wanted to share with you is a vintage pattern. It's McCalls 5375 and it's for a romper or a jumpsuit. Now this was totally an impulse make. I was inspired by my friend Myra of Myra Lorraine on Instagram. I will link her Instagram down below. She had made this pattern into a romper out of some Minerva fabric that she had been gifted. She's also a Minerva brand ambassador just like I am. And when I saw her photos, I just absolutely loved her romper so much that I went on a little hunt and I was able to find a copy of that pattern in my size and I purchased it. So this is an out of print pattern. I forgot to look at the date, but I want to say it's from the 90s. And it's actually a pretty versatile pattern. There's lots of different necklines, and of course you can do the short romper or the long jumpsuit. And it also comes with a pattern for a t-shirt that you can layer underneath. So the version that I chose has this really beautiful sweetheart neckline, and I went for the long pants version. And the pattern that I found came in a size 8, and it was a single size only. I get that these days single size patterns are not very practical, but it's actually kind of nice working with it because all of the seam allowances are marked and it just makes it really easy to make adjustments. Now I did have to make quite a few adjustments with this pattern, and because it's a vintage pattern, I'm not going to go into all the details because I don't see the point of telling you every single thing that I had to do to make it work to fit me. But what I will say is that I had to make so many adjustments that it took me hours to do it. I want to say it took me a full day just to prep the pattern to get it ready to cut out. And I have to say that I was feeling a little bit discouraged after that process. Like there was something wrong with my body because I had to just make so many changes in order to get this pattern to fit. And I kind of got into that mindset that my body is wrong versus the pattern is wrong. But after I got some sleep and had a day to kind of sit on it, I realized that it is not anything wrong with my body. It's just that the patterns aren't made to fit me, and that it actually is worth taking the time to do all of the adjustments because in the end, I really like the way that this turned out, and it absolutely 100% would not have fit me if I had made it straight out of the packet. So I just wanted to say that about this pattern in case you are ever feeling in a similar spot with your body. Just remember that it's not you, it's the pattern. Now this fabric was sponsored to me by Minerva. It is a linen viscose blend in this gorgeous floral print. And I really think that the match of the fabric to the pattern was absolutely perfect. I wore this the other day to work and it was just so incredibly comfortable. I love how the legs are super wide and it kind of swishes when you walk and it just looks like a dress. I did add pockets to the side seams because the pattern does not come with pockets. The only thing about the construction that I'm not crazy about is that it does not have an all-in-one facing. It has a separate neck facing and a separate armhole facing. So when you wear it, there are these two separate pieces on the strap and they both kind of want to poke out. So every time you go to the bathroom, you have to make sure that those facings are like tucked in. So that part's a little bit annoying, but it's really not too bad. Even after all of the changes that I made, this doesn't fit quite perfectly. I would say that the armholes are just a little bit low. So if I made it again, I would go ahead and raise up that armhole, maybe just another inch or so. But I do think that I will eventually try this pattern again because I do like a lot of the different necklines that it comes with, and I really want to try the romper version because I think it's just so cute and perfect for summer. I am sorry that this pattern is not more widely available because I think it's so cute, but if you want a similar look, I think that the True Bias Shelby is fairly similar in silhouette and the way that it's put together. The only difference is that the Shelby does come with sleeves, although you could probably make it sleeveless, and then it only has one neckline option, which is a V-neck. So if you were adventurous, you could probably play around with changing up the neckline if that's what you wanted to do. The next pattern that I have to share is a skirt. This is McCalls 8389. It is a release from their newest collection, and I made this out of a 4-ounce denim that I got from Joann Fabrics, and I believe they call this a light wash, but I would say it's more of a medium wash. I made this in a straight size 12 because the 12 was going to fit my waist perfectly, and then I could have graded back down for the hips, but because this is an A-line shape, I didn't really see the point of doing that, so I just went for the 12. I did add side seam pockets because the pattern does not come with them, and I also added a slit in the front in order to make it a little bit easier to walk. Again, this skirt is meant to be a midi length, and on me it is more of a maxi length, so I just added that slit in order to make it easier to walk. I also shortened this zipper opening to 7 inches because at Joann's they only had 7-inch zippers. They did not have any 9-inch zippers in stock. And that shorter zipper did actually cause a few issues. So on the pattern piece, I shortened the opening of the zipper by 2 inches because I had a 7-inch versus a 9-inch, and I thought that that would be fine. And the very first step that you do is you sew the center front seam and then you clip where you're gonna put the zipper in. So that was the first thing that I did. But then when I actually went to install the zipper, I don't know where things went wrong, whether I had made a mistake when I was doing the shortening or what. But I found that when I went to go install this zipper, that the zipper was about a 1/2 inch too long for the opening. And because I had clipped it, there was nothing that I could do to fix that. So it actually took me a couple of tries to install this zipper where I could get it to fit in the opening and kind of fudge it. I actually ended up kind of folding it over at the top so that it would align properly and I didn't have that extra overhang. So again, I don't quite know where I went wrong there, whether it was me or the pattern, but that was a little bit frustrating. But that was really the only tricky part. I did use white top stitching thread that I got from Wawak, and I really like this white top stitching detail on this particular shade of denim because it does contrast nicely and it stands out, but it's not your typical like bright gold. So I would definitely use this color of thread again if I wanted to use it on a medium wash denim. Now the reason that I made this skirt is because I've been wanting to try out the denim maxi trend, but I've been a little bit skeptical of like the more traditional ones that you see in stores that are made out of like a thicker denim because it just looks really stiff and maybe not that comfortable and also kind of hot for summer. So I was really happy to use this 4-ounce denim because it's much lighter in weight and it moves better. I think that you could even use the same fabric in the other view that has the gathers and it would be even more flowy. I think it would be super perfect for summer. And I did also wear this to work and it was very comfortable all day long, basically just like wearing a pair of jeans, but even maybe a little bit more comfortable because you got some airflow and breeze going through. So I'm looking forward to finding new ways to style this and to wear it throughout the summer months and maybe even into the fall and winter. The last piece that I want to share with you today is the Closet Core Jude jeans. Now I was not originally intending to buy this pattern, but in May Closet Core had a sale and I think everything was 20% off. So I went ahead and bought the pattern because I want to say it was around $14 or $13, so it wasn't too expensive. And I thought, why not just pick it up? So I made the mid-rise view with the slimmer boot cut leg and I did crop it to make it more of a cropped flare. I did, however, raise up the front rise to make it a little bit higher waisted because I don't really like lower rise pants. And I'm pretty sure I made a straight size 6, but I did have to make an extensive amount of adjustments. Now the fabric that I used is a stretch denim that I got from Mood Fabrics, and it was a dead stock that's not in stock anymore. And I find it really tricky to buy white denim, especially white stretch denim on the internet without seeing it in person, because even if the description says that it's not see-through or they give you the ounces or the GSM or whatever and it seems like it's going to be heavy enough, you just don't really know what you're going to get until it comes in the mail. And I think that this denim, although I would call it like kind of a medium to heavyweight, because it's white, it is still a little bit sheer, more sheer than I would really like it to be. So you can see, if I like tuck in my shirt, you can see the shirt underneath, and I have to be very careful with underwear selection. And so it's a little bit fussier than I really would want to deal with. But I had gotten this fabric and it's been in my stash for a while, so there's not a whole lot I could do about it unless I just wanted to destash it. So I went ahead and used it. But I'm thinking that in the future, if I ever want to make another pair of white jeans, I might just stick to non-stretch denim and try to get something that's really heavy. So back to the pattern. So as I said, I made a size 6 and I did a lot of my usual adjustments. I added for extra room in the thighs. I did increase the rise in the front. I shortened it quite significantly to make it ankle length. But there was one place where I went wrong. So my thighs are quite significantly larger than the pattern. In a stretch denim, it's okay to have a little bit of negative ease in the hip and the thigh. But when I measured the pattern, I want to say that the pattern was about 2 inches smaller than my actual thigh. And I just thought that that was going to be way too tight. It was going to be stretched too much. So I meant to add, I believe it was 1.5 inches that I was going to add to the thigh. Only when I was making all of my adjustments, I don't know, I just forgot. I added to the inner thigh, but I forgot to add to the outer thigh. So I actually only ended up adding half the amount that I meant to add, so only 3/4 inches as opposed to 1.5 inches. And because of that, the thighs are a little bit tight. And when I'm wearing them, they kind of do this thing where they want to pull down, like the jeans kind of want to move to a bigger spot for my thighs. So I'm constantly having to tug them back up again, which is kind of annoying. So that was just a silly mistake on my part that I forgot to do, but I can make that adjustment to the pattern and I won't have that problem next time. And just to show you really quickly, when I make white jeans, I always try to use like a nude pocket lining. This is a quilting cotton that was in my stash, and I went ahead and French seamed the bottom just to try to make it as seamless as possible. Now, where I made one of the silliest mistakes that I've ever made in my life is with the zipper. Now, I've made several pairs of jeans with a zipper fly before, so I think I was just feeling a little bit overconfident. So I had installed the zipper and I was putting on the waistband. And before I finished up the waistband, I was cutting the excess off the top of the zipper and then yanking out some of the teeth so that it wouldn't get caught up when I was top stitching the waistband. And I accidentally pulled out just one too many teeth. So I was testing the zipper. So I was kind of zipping it up to the top just to make sure that everything was okay. And when I did it a little bit too quickly and I yanked the zipper pull right off the top of the pants. So that was a total nightmare. I spent hours, it probably was not really hours, but I spent quite a bit of time trying to get the zipper pull back on from the top, and it was basically impossible. So I was thinking that I was gonna have to unpick the entire zipper construction and redo it with a new zipper. But fortune was on my side because it just so happens that a channel that I subscribed to came out with a video about how to fix a zipper pull in a ready-to-wear pair of jeans, and I will link that video down below. So I watched that video and I figured out how to get the zipper pull back on, and you actually have to do it from the bottom. So I had to go into the bottom stop and like basically cut that off and then put the zipper pull back on from the bottom. And then I had to make thread stops at both the bottom and the top so that the zipper would stay in place and not come off again. Now hopefully you can see this. It is a total mess on the inside. You can see where I've had to hand stitch a new zipper stop. And this is just not my prettiest work. It's really kind of messy. And I also, when I was putting it back on, I somehow misaligned the zipper just slightly, probably by like one tooth, so that it's actually uneven at the top. But I just did my best to kind of put the button in a place where it looked as even as I could possibly get it. And most of the time I'm gonna wear it with a belt, so I think it's mostly okay, but it's not perfect. So between the fitting snafu and then the zipper snafu, this is not my best work. It's definitely not the best pair of jeans that I've ever made, but I do think that they're still wearable. I really do like having a pair of white jeans in my wardrobe for summer and even other times of year. So I know that this is going to be a versatile piece in my wardrobe, and kind of fortunately, I guess, because it is white, it's probably not going to last as long as some of my other clothes, and so I will eventually have to replace it, and then hopefully the next time that I do that, I'll do a better job with the construction. Now I did just have to pull a selection of things that I've been making recently, or otherwise we would just be here all day. But if you want to see everything that I've made in 2023, I do have a playlist with some short videos that you can see all of those things in one place, and I'm going to link that here.